Hello, thank you for tuning in today. I'm going to be talking a little bit about some books that I've read that have been useful. So, I really love reading fiction, and I've always got a fiction book on the go, but I also usually have a book on the go that will help me to learn something about psychology or bettering myself. I read a lot of books about mindfulness and happiness and how to achieve goals. Inspirational stuff, really. I also read a lot of spiritual books. So I'm going to be sharing every month a bunch of these books that I would recommend that you might want to check out. Now, first of all, I'd just like to say, if you read a book like this, something that you think will help you to improve or change your life, then don't just read it, study it. So by that I mean, make highlights, write notes in the margin, maybe have a notebook, and you might want to sort of skim through it once, but then read it again and actually think, what can I learn from this? Because it's very easy to read these books, but then never do anything with them. So as you're going through any sort of self-development or personal growth book, I really recommend that you think, right, what am I going to do? How am I going to make changes in my life? How am I going to use this knowledge that I've gained to make my life better? So the first one is this one. And for some reason, I always buy paperbacks when I'm buying self-development books. I tend to read fiction on my Kindle, but I like to have a paper copy of these books. I think it's because they're on the shelf, I can refer to them very quickly and easily. And like I said, I can make highlights, so you can see I've sort of highlighted patches of this book, and I can write notes in the margin, so I can go back to this book at any point, and instead of reading the whole thing if I want to, I can just go through the highlights and remind myself of the stuff that I found most profound, interesting and useful. So this is one of the first books that I read. It's by the Dalai Lama along with Howard C. Cutler. It can be a little bit heavy if you've never read anything like this before, but stick with it because there are some real nuggets of useful information in there. So one of the things that I learnt most from this book is that suffering is normal, and the trouble is we all try to avoid suffering because it hurts and it's painful, and who wants to suffer? But it's actually about how you react to that suffering. So they've done studies about people who have had awful things happen to them, like the worst things that you can imagine. And they've done studies, and actually quite often a number of years go by and they can return to the same level of happiness that they were in before that event happened. So it's all about actually raising your baseline. So if you imagine you're going through life and you've got this baseline, and then something exciting happens and you might peak, and then you come back down to the baseline, or something terrible happens and then you go really far down, but then eventually you'll come back to the baseline. And there's two things that the book taught me. One is to raise the baseline in the first place, and that's why I take care of my mental well-being on a daily basis, and you'll see lots of other videos and blogs and things I've done about that. But also so that when I do hit that lull and that an event happens or something triggers me to go down, then I can come quickly back up to the baseline. So this book talks a lot about that. It talks a lot about how you react to things, about your thoughts, and how you manage your life really, and your mental well-being. There's lots and lots of stuff. There's lots of stuff about the purpose of life is to seek happiness, and actually no matter how much money you've got or how much success you have, that won't impact your happiness as much as your thoughts and your well-being and the way that you perceive the world. So I really recommend it. Like I say, it can be a little bit of a sort of not technical, but it's a long read. Even though it's not that long a book, it's not a smooth, easy read, if you know what I mean, but it's definitely worth it. And like I say, even if you sort of skim through and just highlight some of the key points, I think it can really make a big impact. So the second book I'm going to talk about is this one. It's called Happiness, A Guide to Developing Life's Most Important Skill, by I think you say that Matthew. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, Ricard. Again, he is a Buddhist monk, so you can see my theme today. And I've noticed that Buddhists tend to be calmer, not always of course, but tend to be calmer, happier people. So when I first wanted to learn about all this stuff, I thought, well, I'm going to learn from people who I perceive to be happy, calm and patient, and seem to just have an enlightened sense of the world. So that's why I've read this one. It's very, very good. Again, it's not necessarily a quick, easy read, but I really recommend it. Again, I've folded over lots of pages and highlighted things. It talks about all sorts of topics to do with happiness, and just gives you a bit of a different outlook, I suppose, on life and a different philosophy. There's lots of stuff about suffering again, but also about the ego, and our thoughts and emotions, and how we might overcome envy or hatred. Also just talking a bit about his life and how he became a monk. So it's very interesting. So yeah, I highly recommend this one as well. So staying on with the Buddhist theme, the next one I'm going to mention is this. It's called Buddhism Beginner's Guide, by Ian Terhofsky, I think that is. Again, sort of staying on the Buddhist theme, I am not religious or considering myself a Buddhist. I am spiritual, and that is a different thing. But I do like the Buddhism religion. It's very calm and peaceful, and there's just lots of elements of it that I find interesting. And having read those two books, I thought, this would be a good thing. In contrast to the other two books, this is quite thin, and as it says, it is a beginner's guide, so it's quite easy to read and easy to digest. Again, I've made highlights and things in here. It's really interesting. It just talks about what Buddhism means, who Buddha was, what Buddhists believe and adhere to, and not rules, because they don't really call them rules, but ways that they might live their lives. And it really was interesting. It talks also about meditation and stuff. So I really found it interesting. There's stuff about karma. Really recommend it. So if you've got any interest in Buddhism and the way that Buddhists live, and if you want to be happier, then I recommend that you check Buddhism out, even if not to become a Buddhist, but to just some of the philosophies and ways of thinking are really useful. So again, really good book there to check out. So the next book I'm going to mention is this one. It's called Manifesting Made Easy, and it is by Jen Mazer. I really, really recommend this book if you're interested in the law of attraction, which I am. I've used the law of attraction to manifest many things, including money and just good events and nice things that have happened to me, new clients and all sorts. So I highly recommend looking into the law of attraction, and if you want to read this book, it's a really nice, like it says, made easy. It's a nice simple guide. I've folded over pages. I also like that it's in blue and yellow font, just makes it a bit nicer to look at as well as to read. So this book covers lots and lots of really interesting topics. It includes, how the law of attraction works, how manifestation works, working out what your dream vision for your life might be, and then how you might take action, because you can't just say, I want £10,000 and then just expect the universe to bring that to you. You need to take action, meet the universe halfway. So it also talks a little bit about what might be holding you back and getting rid of that. And then how to, let go and trust in the universe, but also to reap the rewards of your manifestation. So celebrating what actually comes to you. So it sort of takes you through step by step. It's very easy to read and understand, and it's got, very simple. It's got the text, but then it also how to apply it, so you can apply what you've learned. So yeah, if you're interested in the law of attraction, then I really recommend this book. So my last one today is The Little Book of Hygge, and this is by I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce his name again. It's Meek Viking, I think that's how you say it. I'm really terribly sorry if that's wrong. I'm not very good with names. So this book is a lovely book. It's written by a Dane, and Danish people have been proven to be some of the happiest in the world, and yet they have a lot more terrible weather and, you know, shorter days than we do in UK and in other places. So what is it about Danish living that makes people happy? And Hygge is the answer to one of those. So Hygge is a really lovely thing. It's particularly, I recommend reading this sort of autumn time, so maybe like next month, September, getting ready for winter, because it talks a lot about creating coziness, so lighting candles and having blankets and having comfort food and spending good time with friends. And it's just a really nice read, and it certainly made me change some of my habits, especially around winter time. And I tend to pick this up again and again. So I read it several years ago, shortly after it came out, but I read it again and again because every sort of autumn, like I say, I want to prepare for the winter. My husband sometimes suffers a bit from SAD, seasonal affective disorder, so he finds in the winter that when it's cold and wet and dreary, it really affects his mood. So using a bit of Hygge helps with that. So he's written several other books. I've read nearly all of them, so I recommend him in general. But yeah, check out the Hygge book. It's a nice, easy read. It's quite humorous in places, and yeah, it really gives you some great tips of how to keep cosy and warm and happy all year round, really, but particularly when it's a chilly day outside, I find it useful. So there you go, there's just 5 of the many books on my shelf to do with personal growth and self-development. I hope that you found that useful. If you did, please leave your comments below. Please let me know which books you found useful, because I'd love to hear about them. If you liked this video, then please like it down below. Please subscribe to my channel. Please share the video with someone else who might find it useful, and I'll talk to you again soon. Have a great day. Thank you.